The world didn't end with an explosion. It ended with a whisper. 3 months after the first containment breach, the CDC had gone silent. Officially, the Harris contaminant was listed as a closed investigation. Unofficially, every researcher who'd worked in Lab 4 vanished or was reassigned. No updates, no data, just quiet deletion. But fragments of Dr. Maya Chen's notes leaked through encrypted channels, audio files, fragments of logs, and one chilling message. It learns through resonance. At first, no one believed her. The files sounded corrupted, layers of static and distant voices. But across the globe, small incidents began to surface. Unexplained auditory hallucinations, spontaneous ear bleeding, reports of faint whispering during sleep. It was subtle, invisible. A truck driver in rural India pulled over at night, claiming he heard someone whisper his name through the radio, even though it was unplugged. A nurse in Germany collapsed mid-shift after complaining that the hospital walls were breathing. And in coastal towns, fishermen reported hearing the ocean talk back. Dr. Chen was still alive, somewhere in Iceland, according to the last trace of her credentials. She lived alone in a decommissioned listening station, an old NATO relic carved into a cliff. Its satellite dishes pointed out toward the Atlantic, rusted but still functional. She'd chosen the location for one reason: silence. The only sound was the sea and the faint mechanical hum of her isolation chamber. She recorded everything. Her voice, calm but shaking. The organism propagates not through physical contact, but through sound waves. Once someone hears the resonance pattern, the tissue along the auditory canal begins to vibrate at matching frequencies. Neural synchronization follows. It's not infection. It's communication. Her journals became more fragmented over time. She spoke less about the parasite and more about the network. She believed every infected person contributed to a collective acoustic field, a living signal bouncing across the planet, growing denser with every new listener. "It's not inside me," she whispered in one recording. "It's around me. It's us." But she still heard it. Every night, as the wind howled through the antennae, a faint pulse threaded through the static, a deep rhythmic throb, almost like breathing. Sometimes, in the pauses between gusts, she could hear words. Not in English, not even in language. Just tone and intention, like a thought translated through vibration. Meanwhile, the world adapted. Governments didn't announce a pandemic, they announced a frequency anomaly. Radio broadcasters began inserting silences in their programs, and phone companies implemented automatic filters. But the hum persisted. People who had heard it once could never unhear it. In New York, subway passengers began to hum softly in unison without realizing it. In a hospital in Lagos, ventilators pulsed in the same rhythmic pattern, even when unplugged. In Tokyo, a violinist collapsed mid-performance after her instrument produced tones that weren't hers. Dr. Chen followed it all remotely, her only contact a secure channel with a voice she never saw. The voice claimed to be from the World Health Organization. It spoke softly, evenly. "We're still listening, Dr. Chen. Your data is invaluable. You're not alone." But something in the cadence made her uneasy. It matched the rhythm, the pauses, the tone. Sometimes, the voice seemed to anticipate her words, answering before she spoke. Then came the night she stopped recording. The logs show she began running a high-frequency acoustic countermeasure, a desperate attempt to silence the internal vibrations. She described the sensation as a heartbeat behind my eardrum. The generator's power surged. The recording distorts. Faint thuds, the scrape of a chair, and then silence. For 12 full minutes, nothing. Then, softly, her voice again, but slower, deeper, perfectly calm. "It doesn't want to harm us. It wants to harmonize." The next day, a ship passing near the Icelandic coast reported hearing a continuous low-frequency tone across all communication channels. The sound persisted for 3 days, traveling across multiple frequencies, repeating one simple phrase: "We hear you." Within weeks, it became impossible to map. The hum existed everywhere and nowhere, woven into background noise, radio chatter, even the white hiss of rainfall. Engineers discovered it in city power grids, in airplane radio static, in the faint resonance of hospital MRI machines. The pattern was always the same. 7 pulses. A pause. 7 more. In public, people adapted in strange ways. They avoided silence, terrified of hearing it again. Supermarkets played constant white noise. The cars emitted soft counterfrequencies to mask it. And yet, despite all the interference, the infection continued to spread, not through sickness, but through sound. The more people listened, the more synchronized the hum became. Some claimed it changed them. Those exposed the longest described enhanced hearing, sharper perception, and the ability to sense emotions through vibration. But others lost themselves. They stopped speaking, choosing only to hum the 7-pulse pattern over and over, eyes vacant, calm. Authorities tried to isolate them, calling them resonance. Whole facilities were built underground, soundproofed, padded with acoustic foam. But recordings from those wards showed the same impossible phenomenon. Even in total silence, the hum persisted, resonating from the patients' chests like an internal engine. By the time investigators returned to Iceland to find Dr. Chen, her listening station was empty. Her equipment still ran, monitors flickering, recording the hum. In one of the rooms, scrawled across the wall in red marker, they found her final note. Sound is not heard. It is felt. Once we vibrate together, there is no difference. No one ever found her body. Only a faint oily residue near the recording console, glimmering under the emergency light. That night, all global communication systems experienced a synchronized distortion, a universal hum detected on every frequency. The pattern was identical to the one Dr. Chen recorded in her final transmission. For 7 minutes, every device in the world emitted it. Then, abruptly, silence. People stepped outside, confused. The air felt thick, electric. And somewhere in that silence, they began to feel it, a pulse beneath the ground, faint but real, matching their own heartbeat. Some said it was imagination. Others swore they could hear whispers when they closed their eyes. In the weeks that followed, no one reported earaches anymore. No more tinnitus. The hum had stopped. But every once in a while, when the wind was low and the world was perfectly still, people swore they could hear something faint in the distance, not outside, but inside themselves. Not a sound, a presence. And if they stood too long in the silence, it started to breathe with them,